Hey, welcome back. Today I want to talk about light versus dark, the spiritual aspect of it, not the darkness specifically that you would see on a documentary and all the different types of like heinous acts that are going on. More of you know, the side of us that when things don't go right, we start to get angry or we get frustrated or we begin to question why is all this happening to us? How come we constantly, take two steps forward and three steps back, and then we start to get frustrated. Some anxiety starts kicking in. I want to kind of focus on a little bit about what to do with that, like how I handle that, how I deal with those different types of feelings. Um, Allergies are still kicking in a little bit. Out here in Texas, it's pretty much year round with some of the allergies out here. So just kind of bear with me on that. Anyway, getting back to where we're at with the light versus dark, the it's easy to let ourselves slip into different mindsets of negativity, right? Every time something doesn't go right, and I see a lot of different creators, on their channels, they'll talk about how they feel bad when they get angry, they get frustrated, or if things are going well for them because they put so much time and energy into it and they have a lot of effort, a lot of dedication, and they see themselves starting to do well, right? Get some different, more subscribers, get more, activity, interactions with their videos. They tend to kind of feel bad. And that's where I think some of that little dark side kind of kicks in. And, you know, don't know why it shows up, honestly. I haven't given it any thought. I just know that it's there. So for me, it's important to, when things start going a certain way, and then this something happens and it kind of throws you off your path, and you're like, man, everything was going so good and this happened. Our first thought is to get frustrated. And, I think it's okay to acknowledge those feelings, but we also need to be asking ourselves, like, why do we feel that way? Or, why did it happen? And try to learn from that and try to apply that next time. For instance, it's so difficult sometimes when you have this plan laid out and everything seems like, okay, it's going, and then there's a road bump. And, the first thing we want to do is get frustrated, and it's like, man, why did that have to happen? Every time I do something, well, you know, maybe it's okay to let some of those feelings kick in for a brief moment as long as we analyze them. And, we have to remember we're all here. Our souls are here to evolve. They're here to learn. They're here to gain knowledge. And what we need to do is continue forward on that path. And yeah, along the way, some of those darker energies are going to try to show up and say, hey, we don't want to see you walking towards your light. We don't want to see you doing what you're supposed to do. So we're going to make things a little bit difficult for you. And, your spirit guides, ancestors, they're not going to step in. They're not going to just all of a sudden block that, because we have to be able to deal with those ourselves. If they removed every obstacle out of our way, we would never learn anything. We would never understand how hard it was to get somewhere, or what we had to do, to correct the issue and continue moving forward. So they will guide us, they will help us, but God, your spirit guides, ancestors, they're not. They are not going to step in and just clear the path for you. So all you have to do is follow it without anything getting in the way. All of these different situations come up, for one, because we have free will. So we can make adjustments and changes as we're going about, our daily lives. And some of those things are going to create some of the obstacles that we don't want to see, but we may not realize it. So that's where we think we're doing the right thing, but then we're not. So, as long as we're here to evolve and our soul is here to learn and gain knowledge, if we weren't learning any of these tougher lessons and we weren't having to deal with some of those darker sides of those different emotions or those different feelings, then there would be nothing to learn. We wouldn't have any reason to exist here, right? We would just be floating around somewhere doing whatever, they do once, the souls do once they pass on, whether it is reincarnate and come back or go off to somewhere else and experience something different. But it's constantly evolving. So while we're here, we have to make the best of every situation that comes our way, good or bad. So try to keep that in mind, because every time you you start to go down a path that is one you've never walked down before or anything like it. It's something new. It's a new adventure. There's going to be things that are going to get in the way because that's just how we learn. And every step we take is a learning moment. Every obstacle we face is a learning moment. There are so many different situations that would come up in a day, right? And one thing is, if you wake up in the morning, let's say, and you stub your toe, we've all probably done it at one point or another. If your first thought is to get angry and frustrated and say, great, how's the rest of my day going to go? Well, I think you just kind of set the path for how the rest of your day is going to go, because you let that energy kind of kick in and you let that energy take over. So that dark side is always going to be there. You can't stub your toe and say, oh, wow, that really hurt, but let's do it again because it was fun. It's never going to be fun. But when those feelings start to set in, again, it's kind of like how we were talking about those negative, those thoughts, right? When our ego wants to step in and say, well, you can't do that. You'll never get that far. You just don't have the knowledge. You don't have the experience, whatever. It's okay to acknowledge that it's there, but then don't let it drive you the rest of the way. So don't listen to it and take guidance from it. I think it's the same thing when it comes to those darker thoughts. You need to be able to know that they're there, understand why they're there, and then say, okay, now that I know what happened and I know where we're at, this is what I learned from that situation. Now I'm just going to put it aside. And I'm not going to carry it with me anymore. If someone were to do something to your brother, your sister, a family member, your partner, you're going to get upset. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get angry. And I think that's natural. And I think it's okay for that to happen. I don't think the minute that happens, we should all just, the light is going to go away, right? We're not all just going to sit there and still keep beaming bright white light like we all think we do or we want to do. Those are going to come in because someone that was closest was hurt. And it's okay. Again, I think it's okay to experience those feelings, but what really matters the most is how you dealt with it. And then that's where you let that light come and take back over and say, okay, that's where we have to be strong enough up here to be able to say, okay, I felt it. What happened wasn't right. What that person did to, that person close to me wasn't right, and I don't like it. And here's how I'm going to deal with it. And sometimes we have to use that darkness to help us get through, because if we don't face that darkness and we don't step through it, then we never get any stronger. We're always going to be afraid of it. We're always going to wonder, what's the next thing that's going to happen that's going to keep me down. Keeping those feelings locked in like that and not being able to express them and feel them, I don't think is very healthy either. So yeah, if you have to get in, a moment of anger or a moment of frustration, and you need to deal with it, you need to face it head on. You need to look at it square in the face, and you need to step right into it and step through it and come back out on the other side. Remember, the darkness is only there for a short while. There's always light on the other side, right? That's to me, that's what the whole saying, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes you have to go through a dark tunnel in order to get to the light. The light's just not always going to be there. Sometimes we have to find it. And sometimes we do find it in moments of darkness. And I think that's what matters the most. And I think that's what our soul is going to remember. And that's what our subconscious is also going to feel. And I think what it does is it gives us more confidence going forward when another situation comes up where we have to face it head on and look at it and say, okay, you know what? I've done this before. Different situation, different feeling, but it's still that little darker side. But I know if I just do what I did last time, I'll get through it. I'll be better off. And, don't kid yourselves. It's not going to be a 30-second thing. It may take us weeks to be able to get through this. It could take a month. I mean, there's things that have happened to me where, they were 4 or 5 months of having to just continue to keep going forward, because that thing that happened that caused that anxiety and that anger, it took a long time to dissipate all of those feelings. But every day, it was always there, and I had to continue to look at it and go forward, because I knew once I got through it, I would be happier for it, and I would be in a better position, and I was. So like, like I was saying, don't kid yourself. Um, it's not it might be, it could be a 1 day thing. It could be something you fixed in a few hours or a couple minutes, but there are going to be those situations that are going to take weeks or months. I mean, sometimes we're fighting them for years, right? If you get laid off from a job and all of these things start to pile up, and your finances are completely stripped from you and you can't find a job, and you're having to maybe downsize or sell one vehicle and only have one vehicle, and that's hard, right? And you get frustrated, you get angry, but if you just continue to keep moving forward, you're going to get to where you need to be. And that actually happened to me. So, you know 2 years ago I was laid off. I had a really good job, moved here to Texas for that job, and worked about a year and a half, and then they laid me off, and it wasn't easy to find a job. So we had to make a lot of changes. There's a lot of stress, there was a lot of frustration, a lot of different feelings, and none of them were really really good at the time. It's stressful, and all of these are dark feelings. These are all that darker side of us that we wish we don't have to deal with, but we do. So fast forward, here I am about 2 years, 2.5 years later, and I started a business. It's doing well. Everything seems to be going the way I want it to go right now. But I had to get through that dark side in order and face all those feelings in order for me to be able to get here. And I'm still not completely out of it. There's still, a lot of residual, like, resentment there. There's still people that, I worked with that are still at that company, that, quite honestly, I feel like knew some of this was coming and didn't give me a warning, and they would look me in the face every day. So, those feelings are a little bit harder to get away from. But, over time, over just knowing that, okay, they did it. I know they did. Like, I know they did, right? They can't kid me. They can lie to me all day long. But I know they did. And if you guys watch some of my other videos, you'll know that I do have three, different abilities that kind of help me with the bullshit detector. So, yeah, I know they did. But, I have to continue to face those feelings, and it's very frustrating because, when they want to check and say, hey, how's everything going? I haven't heard from you in a while. I kind of want to tell them to piss off, right? But that's not really going to help the situation. It's not going to help me. All it's going to do is bring up more of those feelings that I don't want to have to deal with again, because I've already dealt with them. So, darkness comes in the forms of people, and I think that's my point. Is there's people in our lives that are going to bring some of those dark feelings, and we have a decision to make. Do we want to cut them out, which is what I did. I don't contact them. If they contact me, it's just, hey, all good here, and then that's where it stops. I don't, if I even give that much of a response, and I think they get the hint over time, and they know why that happens. Anyway, I don't want to get too far off track, but like I said, we all experience those kinds of feelings and thoughts. So I think we need to face them head on. I think we need to be not fearful of stepping through them. We need to step into it, we need to push through it, and we need to make our own path to see the light at the other end. So, I hope this kind of helped somebody out, maybe kind of helped you with some of the things you're dealing with. Leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think. And until next time, take it easy.